Finally, it's time to return to Tamriel and kill those dragons. I am the Dragonborn.
Wait, what are you doing, rookie?
What, Elder Scrolls Online's out? Let's go kill some dragons and stuff.
There's no dragons in this game, rookie.
But I've got the helmet and the blanket and everything.
Elder Scrolls Online. It's judgment time.
Sorry about that, Joseph does get incredibly grouchy when he hasn't had anything to eat. Welcome back to Tamriel, a land currently ravaged with war, disease, and big-ass magical circles in the sky. Elder Scrolls Online has divided opinions not just of long-term fans of the franchise, but also the larger MMO community as a whole. It would be fair to say that some love it, and some have indeed set their mind to hating it. Not only has the eventual game divided opinion, but even the original concept of the game did. ZeniMax, however, have succeeded in their marketing strategy. Whichever way you look at it, whether you love it or hate it, you at some point did definitely talk about it. I myself am guilty of having various preconceptions of the game before actually playing it, some of which are now shattered and some of which remain to be true. But what is the truth about the game? Well, as most things go, the truth can be found somewhere in the middle. Let's start with the biggest mixed bag of the game, questing. There is a lot of good and a lot of bad in terms of the questing content. Sadly, the questing suffers on occasion from old-fashioned MMO fetch quest syndrome. I have literally done about 5 quests where I just rounded up the same type of animal in different areas. Oh joy. The main disappointment of a lot of the quests in the game is that they are very much your bog standard MMO content. There's nothing innovative or nothing particularly new here. That being said, some of the quest lines are very immersive and are both well written and well voice acted. Factional quest lines in particular are my personal favourite, as I feel they provide the most cinematic, interactive and fun experience. I will not be giving any spoilers away or talking about the main story in this review, because I'll be doing a separate spoiler-ridden video on the main story and my thoughts on it. On the other side of things, some quests are just contrived. Even though the characters are voice acted, I ended up skipping through the conversations that weren't part of more major quest lines. Don't get me wrong, there are some good one-offs that hold some great story, but again, the more fetched quest type stuff feels pointless. I really enjoy the way ZeniMax have placed the questing in the world. Questing is almost zonal, so you can literally wander off into a new location and find quests that are specific to that location. This really helps in making the world feel more alive. One thing that does annoy me about questing in ESO is instancing and the phasing of the quests. Now, I'm all for making the world feel like it changes according to your actions, and I'm always for making a MMO world feel more immersive. However, ZeniMax have gone a little overboard here and have implemented their instancing in a very player-unfriendly way. Once you have completed a quest due to phasing, you actually cannot go back into that instance even to help a friend or a guild member with the quest. It completely locks you out, which can sometimes then limit the amount of people that you can play with at any one time. A big no-no in my book. Leveling up your chosen character is something that ZeniMax have done really well. The progression is well paced and it ensures that you don't have the feeling that you're burning through the content at an obscenely fast rate. The whole leveling system will be very familiar to long-time Elder Scrolls fans. When you level, you gain an attribute point and a skill point. More skill points are also obtained by finding pieces of sky shards and for doing certain quests. The amount of skills and abilities in the game is absolutely fantastic, and the level of customization is phenomenal. Each class has 3 class-specific skill lines. On top of that, you have your racial and weapon skill lines. This goes even further by playing the game. Depending on what you do in the game, you can unlock even more skill lines. For example, if you're a warrior type character and you join the Fighters Guild, this will unlock the Fighters Guild skill line, which then you can upgrade even further. You can also upgrade unlocked skills. By using skills, you upgrade their respective level, and at a certain point, you're given the option to spend a skill point to morph the ability, which will add a new effect on top of its existing stats. The level of customization of your chosen character is my favourite thing about the game. I can tailor my character's abilities to the way I want to play. If I want to create a dual-wielding Dragon Knight who has tanking abilities to improve his armor and health, I can do just that. I really like that ZeniMax are not dictating what players should do with their characters, and by doing this, it definitely feels more like an Elder Scrolls game rather than just a standard MMO. Overall, the PvE in the game is mostly soloable. There are two types of dungeons: public, whereby anyone can go in, or instanced, by which only you and your party can enter. There are also world encounter bosses that you and your group can try and tackle, as well as trying to take on Molag Bal's Dark Anchor encounters. The great thing about PvE is the way that ZeniMax have designed the combat, which is a cross between Elder Scrolls combat and traditional MMO combat. It means that encounters are not only tough, but they require tactics. You can't just spam attack. You have to time your hits, you have to block in between. Blocking is almost essential to your survival. If you do not grow to love to block, you will get very acquainted with dying a lot. Let's talk about crafting now. I absolutely love crafting in MMOs. Some MMOs do it well, others not so much. Thankfully, I absolutely love the crafting in ESO. They have designed it very, very well, giving thought to its longevity and importance in a very player-driven economy is essential, and that is exactly what they've done. Crafting in ESO ranges from blacksmithing to alchemy, and it works similar to previous Elder Scrolls games with some changes. I'm going to be using blacksmithing as my prime example here because I'm a blacksmith in the game. Each type of crafting skill has its own skill line, which you can upgrade once you've improved your skill in that particular field. You are able to unlock bonuses and new materials to craft with. For example, when you start blacksmithing, you're only able to create items using iron, but as you get more proficient, you'll unlock better materials like steel, etc, etc. Not only do you just create items, but you also have the ability to improve their quality if you have the right reagents, as well as craft them with specific traits. To be able to craft a trait into your items, you have to research that specific trait. To do this, you must have the item with the trait in your inventory, and then you select it from the crafting research screen to begin researching it. This will consume the item, and not only this, but researching takes real world time. Your first research on an item, for example the daggers, if you research a trait on daggers, it will take 6 hours of real time. This time doubles each time. So as a blacksmith, if you want to research all the traits in daggers, it will take you around 60 real world days. Now if you put that into perspective of the amount of items, both weapons, items, accessories, armor, etc, etc, this becomes a serious amount of time. You're talking about EVE Online amounts of time here, which I think is truly fantastic. It means that I can specialise in swords, and the chances are for a good period of time I'll be one of the select few who specialises in swords, and I'll be able to craft things that no one else can craft. This really helps the player-driven economy overall. It means that crafters are able to offer real bespoke services to other players, something that has been really missing in more recent MMO titles. Speaking of player-driven economies, I want to mention the social interaction in ESO. ZeniMax decided to elect not to have an auction house for players to sell their goods to one another. What this means is that if you want something or you want to sell something, you're forced to talk to other people. I know, right? Shock horror. I absolutely love it. It is a throwback to the days where you actually had to interact with other players in an MMO, because that is what the genre is all about. Another great thing is that trading is made even easier by the fact that you can join up to 5 guilds. So essentially you can join a trade guild where you can flog your wares, and there are some already very big trade specific guilds out there. Now quickly I want to talk about the world design. I absolutely love the world design. I think it is one of the most beautiful MMOs that we've ever seen. I think that they've done a fantastic job. The size of it is absolutely incredible, and it is something that is one of the best selling points of the game. Different areas, different aesthetics, all look fantastic, and I've got no complaints in terms of graphics. I think it's very stable, they look very good, I maintain a high frame rate, and I'm very impressed with the graphical fidelity of ESO. Now, going quickly back to social interactions in the game, one thing I do feel detracts from social interactions in the game is the UI design. It's clearly been made with console controllers in mind, meaning that you have to navigate radial menus to interact with people. Not only this, but a lack of chat bubbles in the game makes it very difficult to ascertain who is actually talking, especially a problem if you're looking to roleplay in the game. Due to the UI design and the group tools, unless you join a guild, you can potentially end up feeling quite isolated in the game, something that really does need addressed by ZeniMax in the near future. Now let's move on to what is, in my opinion, one of the biggest game's selling points, and also its major endgame content at the moment, which is Cyrodiil and its respective PvP. ESO's PvP was the biggest surprise to me going into the game. I thought it was going to be terrible, but it actually ended up being by far one of its best features. Cyrodiil is as massive as you would hope it to be. Areas are divided up by castles and their resource camps. Factions must capture the opposing resources and then siege the castle. PvP combat is very fast paced and fun. It's very easy to find a large group to roam Cyrodiil with, and it makes for a very fun and interactive experience. There are also quests in Cyrodiil, for example, kill a certain number of players, and by completing these quests you earn alliance points, which you can then use to purchase equipment like siege engines. Siege engines themselves are easy to set up. You simply activate them from a quick slot menu and place them down at a suitable flat location. Besieging a castle is immensely fun. Seeing hundreds of players on a battlefield is really awesome, and it really does have a sense of epicness in the PvP warfare. As well as vying for land, you're also vying for control of the Elder Scrolls. Should your faction secure an Elder Scroll, your entire army will receive a buff. Should your faction manage to control all the keeps surrounding the Imperial City, the faction member with the most alliance points will become the Emperor. Overall, PvP is great in ESO. It is certainly something that was a big surprise to me, and hardcore PvPers and casual PvPers will have a field day all round. Finally, let's talk about the stability of the game. MMOs are complex beasts, both artistically and technologically. I have been very impressed with ESO's server stability, but less impressed with the sheer amount of bugs still in the game, passed on from beta. Quests are horrendously bugged, to the point that you cannot progress on some seriously important quest lines. However, ESO and ZeniMax are working on these bugs. There have been issues with players falling through the world too, but again, MMOs are complex machines and it does take years and years to get them into a high quality state. Overall, I am really enjoying my time with the game. It's subjective whether or not you think the game is actually worth the price. I myself possibly think it's definitely worth the subscription if you didn't have to pay the upfront price, and I certainly think that would have been a better way to go. I didn't like the content that ZeniMax locked behind the collector's edition. I didn't think that was the right thing to do, but I like the fact that there's no in-game store and ZeniMax aren't trying to nickel and dime us with microtransactions left, right and centre, and I think that would have been a big no-no, especially in a subscription-based MMO. I think that some players will find a lot of enjoyment here. I think for some people it will be their MMO of choice for at least the next 12 months, and I think that they will really get their money's worth here. I think there are those people though who will really not enjoy the game and they will feel like they've wasted their money. I would always suggest purchasing the game and trying out, because you get 30 days game time free with the purchase. So treat it like a single player Elder Scrolls experience. You can play the game for 30 days and see what you feel like. I think it's definitely worth doing that just to experience some of the single player quests and the soloable content. It's definitely worth doing that and at least trying out Cyrodiil. I think that you will be able to justify that purchase within that time frame. Whether or not you want to subscribe long term is a different matter altogether. I think that what people do need to understand going into Elder Scrolls Online is that you're getting a combination of an Elder Scrolls experience with an MMO experience. It's not perfect in both respects, and it's not terrible in both respects either. But if you're looking for a ultimate Skyrim experience, you're not going to get it. If you're looking for the perfect MMO experience, you're not going to get it. what it is, it's a nice combination that has some good points, it has some bad points, but it's definitely worth trying and seeing whether it's good enough or bad enough for you. Thank you so much for watching. Do like, subscribe and leave a comment. Let me know what you think if you've played the game. Let me know if you're going to play the game. If you don't want to play the game, tell me why, and I will see you next time.